I'm here with Inspector Angela Hallett, who is the Eastern District Road Policing Manager. Kia ora, Inspector, and thanks for joining me.
Morena.
So now it's been this time of the year is always busy for police, and obviously our roads get busy. But we'll start off with the latest news. Recently, there was a media release from yourself about some illegal street racing that happened in Hawke's Bay. Can you tell us about this and what actually went down and where it happened?
Okay, thank you for the opportunity to share what happened there. Last weekend we had an illegal street race event happen in Hawke's Bay. We were aware it was going to happen and did some planning around it. The group came to Hawke's Bay and had a presence in our cities on Saturday evening, a large gathering, over 200 vehicles. They travelled together, a bit of a convoy around the city. We were able to set up a large checkpoint and largely disrupt their activities. They were intent on doing some skidding and other illegal activities which would damage the road and cause risk to other road users. So yeah, we had a big operation in place to keep the roads safe and hopefully disrupt the activities, which I think we were pretty successful in doing.
Is this a big problem, illegal street racing in Hawke's Bay?
I think it's pretty consistent. It's happened over the years, and sometimes more so on the Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights. But the large gatherings like the one we saw last weekend, there's less of those, and we tend to find out about them in advance. The large gatherings where people come from across the country to have a big event.
And the most concerning thing for me, anyway, of this thing was in the media release that you sent out. It said that this group, some in this group, used fireworks against police. That's quite concerning.
Yes. So this time around, the fireworks were actually directed at our police drone. We had a drone observing the behaviour, and that was while they were in the industrial area. So it was directed at the drone. It had no effect on the drone, and they were able to avoid having any damage to it and still able to observe the activity. But it was a reasonably long period where fireworks were launched directly at the drone. We were able to carry on watching the activity and send our staff along at a point when it was safe to stop those vehicles leaving the area. So last year we had a large gathering of illegal street racers at Guy Fawkes, and they actually did use fireworks directly at our staff on a checkpoint. So we took steps this year to plan around that risk, and we had some of our public order teams working at our checkpoints to watch the crowd and make sure we were alert to that issue. We had the fire service working with us in our command room, keeping an eye on things, because there's also the fire risk to the environment that's very dry, despite this week's rain.
Yes.
So yeah, there's a very big risk with the activities that could cause sparks and could set fire to some of the grass and other flammable things in the industrial areas. So yeah, so we were alive to that risk, and we were taking it very seriously around our safety of our staff.
What powers do police have, apart from sort of issuing vehicle infringements and that? Do you have any other powers of arrest and that for people if they do things wrong?
Well, probably the most effective thing we have is actually taking the vehicles. There's powers to impound, and they're actually mandatory impoundment of vehicles for a whole range of activities related to the illegal street racing, sustained loss of traction, failing to stop for police. So there's various different actions which people have taken, which have led to us taking their vehicles off them that night. So that largely obviously stops them carrying on the activity that evening, and has a big impact on them because they don't have their vehicles for 28 days as a result of the activities. So that's sort of the most impactful way of dealing with the event as it occurs. Obviously, there's offences that some of the drivers committed or they're driving outside their conditions of their license. Some drivers were either unlicensed or suspended, disqualified drivers, or in fact over the legal limit for alcohol. So yeah, there's various different charges they face in court for that, most of which were summonsed. There's very few arrests actually made. That would be more if there was violence. On this occasion, we were very lucky that there was no violence targeted at our people. But yeah, very high risk behaviour to themselves through the activities they did.
And how many vehicles were impounded on Saturday?
There were 9 vehicles involved in the illegal street racing that were removed from the road that evening, and at least one of those was obtained on private property. We had a JP give us a warrant to allow us to go on there and seize it. So those vehicles are now impounded for 28 days, so they're off the road. And there were other vehicles impounded for persons who were suspended drivers, or there was also one impounded for someone who had fled the police, failed to stop. So that's also another qualifying offence for impounding a vehicle, yeah. And it's mandatory 28 days that it's impounded for.
Yeah. Now, what should normal members of the public like myself do if we come across a street race?
So what we do want is obviously keep yourself safe, and when able to, please contact us, let us know it's happening. We will take that very seriously. So do call 111. It is serious. Obviously, our call centres triage phone calls, and our communication centres will deal with it. Even if we're not able to attend at the time, having the intelligence around when it's happening and where is very important. When I have been invited to speak to community groups concerned about this kind of behaviour, the first thing we ask for is for people to report it at the time, because then we have the best chance of actually stopping those drivers that are doing the activity. If not able to report it at the time, definitely report it afterwards to our 105 line or online, so that we can collate that information. But be very careful not to put yourself in danger when you're obviously it's happening around you. Just keep yourself safe. On this night, on the weekend, on the Saturday night, I actually rang and spoke to a member of the public that had called 111, really concerned. She was still very shaken, having come across the vehicles and convoy doing some dangerous driving, and she was very shaken by the fact that she was forced to basically keep well off the road to not get injured. So it's frightening for members of the public, and we do take it seriously and respond. We were able to reassure those people who rang on the weekend that we were actually already there and dealing with the matter. So thank you for calling, and I continue to do so.
Is this gang related, or is this a separate sort of section of society that is involved in this?
It's a little bit complex. The groups involved sometimes do have gang members involved. This one on the weekend played out less so. So there are particular groups that use social media, and they have a bit of a following. And I won't give them notoriety by giving their name,
yeah.
names here, but they actually do sell merchandise. It's kind of a business. And so they do make money from having their advertising on the vehicle, the stickers and the hoodies with their group name on it. So that's part of their activities, that actually raise funds for themselves through having their name out there. It's actually quite helpful for identifying them too for us. So, yeah.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Now, I mentioned that we're coming up to your busy time of the year, the silly season, as we call it. What is the in Hawke's Bay in the Eastern District? What is your priorities as road policing manager?
So our priorities, or my priorities here, is obviously the safety of everyone on our roads. It's a time of year when everyone's going to see their loved ones travelling on the open roads to other cities. So yeah, we really want our roads to be safe places to travel for all New Zealanders and visitors here. The key messages, I guess, is expect to see police anywhere, anytime. We'll be doing more visible checkpoints, as we always do this time of year. Expect to get breath tested every time you're stopped, no matter what time of day. We also have zero tolerance around speed or other breaches, so please take that seriously. the main reason we focus on speed is to drive down the mean speeds on our road. Because the faster you travel and have a collision, the less chance of survival. So yeah, we don't want to be door knocking on people's houses to tell them that their loved ones have been killed in a crash. That's one of the worst things to have to do this time of year.
Absolutely.
Some of the road safety messaging we have, you know, is it worth getting there 10 minutes earlier when you're traveling to another city by taking risks, or just peel back your speed a little bit and you'll get there safely? Is it worth your life looking away from their window to look at your phone? It's not. So you just take time to think about setting yourself up in the car before you go, so your phone's on silent, you have no distractions, and you're really alert and looking at what's in front and behind you. Travel at the speed of life. Road Safe has some really good messaging around this. You'll see on the television and newspapers and other forums. The speed limit's not a target. We want you to travel under the speed limit at a safe speed. Wear your seatbelts. That's a really key thing. So yeah, always wear your seatbelt in a vehicle. Make sure your passengers are wearing seatbelts. Make sure children have the correct restraints for their age and size. Those are some of the key messages.
Yeah. Now, how bad is drink driving at this time of the year?
It's pretty bad actually all year round. We probably detect more in the evenings and in this time of year. We're focusing even more on our checkpoints. But what you'll see is we are actually doing checkpoints earlier in the evening to try and deter people from taking their next drink before they are over the limit. So getting pulled over and getting the secondary test where you blow on the tube, I think is really waking people up to the fact that, yeah, the level that they're able to take is very low. So plan your way home before you go to that function. If you're having drinks after work, think about it the day before, how you're going to get there, how you're going to get home, arrange a ride with a friend, taxi, Uber, whatever you've got available in your area, so that you don't drive home after you've had some drinks.
So if someone has to drive home after drinking, and I know it varies from person to person, but as a rule of thumb, what would you suggest how many drinks they have?
I don't suggest any.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So rather abstain, rather just teetotal for the night and ensure your safety.
Yeah, or have a nominated designated driver. I mean, so many people have to work all sorts of shifts and things these days. Find the person in your group to volunteer to be that person and look after you, or arrange someone at home to come pick you up. There are lots of options. There's taxis, other services people can use to get home. Or stay the night, someone's couch, that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. What are some of the other issues? Because obviously you have people who decide to go on long trips and that. Do you see a lot of people, tired drivers, that sort of thing?
Yes, fatigue is definitely an issue. So you'll see a lot of advertising from Road Safe again about this, and we do fatigue stops jointly with other agencies, encouraging people to pull over and have a bit of a break. You know, have a cup of tea or water or something, just a bit of a break from the concentration on the road. Obviously, in Hawke's Bay and Te Rāwhiti, we've been badly impacted on our roads by Cyclone Gabrielle. So people need to take their time. There's still roadworks and road workers out there fixing the roads. There's still parts of our roads that are damaged. So we need to take extra care still. We're not there yet as far as having everything repaired.
Now, a lot of people, when they see police on the road, they get a bit nervous and they slow down or whatever, which I suppose is the desired effect. But not all your interactions are bad. What are some of the sort of general communications that you have with people on the road? And are there some positive things out there?
Absolutely. We interact really well with public, and your average person we stop and speak to is very pleasant and appreciative of police being on the road, because there is a deterrent effect around bad driving behaviour by us being on the roads, which is why we try and be on the highways as much as we can in our road policing team, so that people on the road feel safe and, yeah, just that whole visibility.
Yeah. Now, the worst thing, obviously, are fatal accidents. And I think you've got aim to have 0 this year. What sort of effect does this have on your staff and that? Because it must be quite traumatic for them as well.
Yes, I have the serious crash team that work for me that deal with all the investigations into those. And yeah, other staff are involved in obviously dealing with the families of the deceased or the injured persons. Yeah, we have way too many on our roads, and all it takes is, one distraction can cause a crash. So people need to take care. This year in Eastern District, we've had approximately 18 fatal crashes on our roads. Now that's a provisional number that we count based on what our team are working on, because that also includes like medical events. Say someone has a heart attack and crashes into a power pole and dies, that's counted as a fatal crash for us. So the actual official figures through Waka Kotahi are published separately. So, but my team are working on those cases, and there's over 31 serious injury cases that we're dealing with as well across our district. So Hawke's Bay had 14 fatal crashes this year. That's way too many. That's, every one of those is a family affected.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully it's much less, even zero this year, at the end of this year. Yeah.
Yeah, so Waka Kotahi have the Road to Zero campaign, which is actually, even though it says zero, it's a 40% reduction in the road tolls, what we're actually focused on, and police are delivering a lot to assist with that around our key causes of road deaths and serious injury. So the 4 things being restraints, so seatbelts and restraints for children, making sure people are wearing those. Impairment, we're really focused on the alcohol detection and also drug detection. We do the compulsory impairment testing for people who may have taken some substance that impairs them while they're driving. Distraction, we focus on cell phone use and other things that cause people not to be concentrating. And then speed, and the under 11 kilometres over an hour speed is the target that we're focusing on to bring everyday New Zealanders' speed down, so that the impact of a crash when they happen is a lot less.
So in one sentence, what would your message be to people out on the road in Hawke's Bay this silly season?
Take care on our roads, think ahead, plan before you travel on how you're going to get there, do all the right things, have rest, wear your seatbelt, ensure that your passengers have theirs on, and you don't drink and drive. There's nothing new here. These are all things everyone knows, and we just want everyone to look after each other on the road and get to their loved ones.
Inspector Angela Hallett, thank you so much for your time. I do appreciate it, and I hope you have a good end of the year and festive season.
Thank you.